because I was like, what am I going to talk about? What am I going to say? But I appreciate you asking me to do this because it's not that often that I get to share the story like this with young people. Um, I was 32 years old, working in Virginia Beach public schools as a math teacher. And I had grown up cooking with my mom, and I was doing little things for friends. And they asked me to do a Kagan development, multiple intelligences conference with Laurie Kagan. And I thought, well, I'm doing this for my employer and I probably should be official. So I started that process and started looking for a kitchen. And within 7 days, I had found a kitchen that I could rent by the hour for like $12 an hour. I did that conference and it was like 5 days, 150 people a day, twice a day. My family came up to help me do it, and I kind of never looked back from there. So the business literally was unplanned. I was in graduate school full time, getting my master's in educational leadership. And you're going to learn a little bit more about what was happening in my life during that time in just a little bit. But it was really kind of a bittersweet year. So teaching full time, graduate school, starting a business, and I was doing that at night in any time that I had on days off. So that first event was excruciatingly terrible, but it went off without a hitch. And in January following that year, I did my first bridal show. And in June, I quit working because I had booked my calendar so full of weddings for the fall that I just had to move forward. So during that time, I was also traveling with my son to Mississippi, visiting his father, who was terminal with colon cancer. He had been diagnosed with colon cancer when he was 28 years old and had fought his battle for 5 years and died in March of 2005. So Sweetwater was born in July of 2004. We were traveling, doing graduate school, um, all of that mixed together. I call it the best and worst year of my life. And I certainly could never have accomplished anything that I was doing without a strong network of people who were supporting me, from the teachers that I worked with. I was at Green Run. To my family, to Jonathan's principal. My principal was a cancer survivor. Jonathan's principal was a cancer survivor. So all of us together made this work. So when Jonathan and I were visiting with Daniel in one of those last times in February, I asked Daniel what his life's regret was. And he told me instantly that it was the fact that he had not recognized that there were people around him who needed help, from the neighbor next door who might need help taking in the groceries to the elderly man who might need his grass cut. He had missed those opportunities, and he wished that he could do that now, but he was too sick. So Jonathan and I thought to ourselves at that point that while Daniel couldn't, we could. We could give back to people on his behalf. He had received money during his cancer battle from people all over the United States who knew about his story, who gave freely so that the family could survive. And it just felt like the right thing to do. So here we are. Jonathan was 14 at the time. The business had started. I poured myself into the business as part of my grieving process. And literally for the next 3 years, we just worked and built the business. I had staff who came along beside me that supported me. All of the people in my life who were my friends supported me. They had parties. They booked us for school events. So I had this network of people who helped us be successful. Jump forward for 10 years, I operated the business and built the business. I think at our peak, we were at about $1.3 million in revenue. And it took a village of people to do that. So I never, ever felt like I created a successful business alone, because I have what I call a family, a work family. And it takes every one of us doing our job to make this go and make this work. So 10 years later, I had an encounter with someone that I met while Daniel was sick, who had also developed cancer. And get this found started. When Daniel was sick, that seed was planted, and I knew what I wanted to do. But I believe that Sweetwater kind of gave me the platform for launching that. So Daniel's Grace was born. Let me tell you a little bit about how that started with Smita and Kumar. So I did a fundraiser for Daniel when he was sick, and I went door to door selling Tupperware. And because you do anything when you're in a pinch, right? Anything that you can do to help somebody, you just find a way to do it. So door to door, they asked me in, and they talked to me for about an hour and a half. And it turned out that Kumar worked for Operation Blessing. And his wife and he had been in the mission field for a number of years. So when I got ready to leave their house, they asked a million questions, of course. When I got ready to leave, they said, hold on 1 second. So they had a little conversation without me, and they said, we would like you to have this. And they handed me $100, and they said, we don't want any Tupperware, but I received a bonus at work, and we've been praying where God would have us give this, and we want you to have it. So that was a moment for me. I went home crying. We remained friends, and they went back to India in the mission field. And she would call me randomly to check on me. And one day I was in Kroger, and she was there with a little girl, and they did not have children. So I was like, Smita? And she was like, Jodi, I'm so glad to see you, and please let's get together. So we exchanged numbers. Sweetwater, of course, keeps me so busy that I oftentimes neglect other things in my life. And we didn't reach out to each other. And I got her on my mind one day, and I was like, I have got to call her. So it took her a day to call me back, but she called me back crying. And she said, Jodi, I am so glad to hear your voice. It's like you're my last friend. Kumar died last year of cancer. So here I have this family who had helped Daniel, and I needed to do something for them. So I felt like that was God pushing me a little bit to say, all right, follow your heart, follow your dream, do it. This is the time. So that day I went back to the restaurant, and I put mason jars on tables, and I told the story of Kumar and Smita and Daniel. And we raised probably $800 in about two weeks. And I gifted that to them. So that was the first give that Daniel's Grace gave, right? So I made the organization official, and that in 2014, we launched our first fundraiser, which is Roast on the River, and we raised probably $35,000. My family and my friends in the industry rallied around and helped make this happen. They really came alongside me and made it successful. So we raised about $35,000 the first year. That same group of people came back the following year, and we raised about $75,000. The next year, we raised $135,000, and then the next year we raised $200,000. So we are a constantly growing organization. And what we do for people is we provide financial assistance for daily living needs. So rent, mortgage, utilities, groceries, transportation, car notes, anything that a family who's battling cancer needs support with for daily living, we provide. So it has been to date, to give you a little idea about what we've been able to accomplish, we have provided $275,000 in rent and mortgage payments up until this point. And none of that could be done without a community of people surrounding and supporting. So it takes so many people to accomplish things, but what you have to remember is a lot of those people never are really recognized for what they do. They're working in the background. They're the ones that are supporting the people who are the face of whatever project is happening, and that doesn't mean that they're any less important. So please remember that. As you're going through life, remember that it's okay to be in the background, because it's required. You're required to make things happen. We are gearing up now to do fundraisers this fall. Give Local 75, not this fall, this spring. Give Local 757, and we have an exciting new fundraiser, which is going to be the Concert for Cancer, that'll feature two bands, the Little River Band and the Bodines. And right now, I am working on finding volunteers to help us accomplish these things. So if anybody's interested, I know some of you are students, and you are probably involved in some community service students. So if you're interested, please reach out to me, and we'll find a way that you can fit into this project. Jason?
Yep.
Are you? Are there any? Are there any questions? I'd like to, if anybody has any questions, I'd like to answer those.
Yeah, feel free. Anybody who has questions, go for it. And sometimes it does take a second because they're going back and forth between the two classes.
Yeah.
Oh, here we go. Where is your business located, and do you have multiple locations?
Our business is a single location, and we are located at Wayside Village in Virginia Beach. We are a catering company at this point, but offer, since COVID has happened, we have opened as a restaurant, and we serve lunch Wednesday through Friday from 11 to 3. We serve dinner Thursday and Friday nights, and we are open for Sunday brunch every Sunday of the month from 11 to 3, which is a buffet. So we have about 20 items. So while we have always been primarily catering, we have opened up to some other things. My favorite menu items are our shrimp and grits. Our honey pecan fried chicken is probably one of our most popular items. It's Southern fried chicken. It has honey pecan butter on it, and it's served with mac and cheese and collard greens. So it's probably at the top of my list anyway.
All right, Ms. Simonelli, you had a question? Okay, so can you tell us about a couple of the venues that you guys have worked, like if there's any large venues in the area and how that came to be, like the process that you guys took for
Yeah,
that?
absolutely. Absolutely. We are pretty much on all of the areas preferred vendor list, like Half Moon, Mocha, the Hermitage Museum. I am also at the Chrysler Museum. Um, that is a pretty rigorous process. All of those venues put out what they call RFPs, request for proposal. And we have to write menus, we have to provide all of our credentials. I have to write this lengthy, I think the last one I wrote was about 28 pages. It's crazy. But I have to tell about our philosophy as a business, how our employees, who they are. I have to provide resumes for them. Um, I have to talk about our client process and how we book people and our sales process. So it's a pretty lengthy thing. So then we're up against other caterers. We have to do tastings for those venues, and then they select from the people who applied. So we have been very fortunate throughout the years that we have been accepted most places. Um, the staff. So I started pre-pandemic. We had about 12 full-time people, and we're down to 4. Um, so the pandemic has really wreaked havoc on us. Like I said, we were catering. Catering went totally away when the pandemic happened. So we were left kind of scrambling, trying to figure out a way to create revenue, because we couldn't survive without it. So we started offering curbside. We started offering family meals through our penny pantry, which is another thing that I didn't tell you about. The penny pantry is where you can find prepared meals that you can come by and get and finish off at home. We have hors d'oeuvres, we have entrees, we have sides, we have desserts that you can, fresh and frozen, that you can come in, stock your freezer, and then cook them at home. So that was kind of a way that we pivoted when the pandemic happened and made things, generated some income. There was one other question that popped up that I didn't get to read, Jason.
Yep. So it said, let's see, is your calendar of booked events starting to bounce back with weddings being rescheduled and things like that?
So the bad part about that is that we are still booking. Yes, we're booking weddings. The downside of having weddings cancel and reschedule is that we're going to lose income again on that day because we can't take on a new job because we're filling it with a job that was rescheduled. So I'm kind of bracing myself to see how that's all going to flesh out when the time comes. Hopefully, we'll be able to have enough events around that that it'll balance out. But we are seeing movement in the market. People are having smaller events. They're not having 200 people weddings. They're having 50 to 100. So we just have to wait and see.
Okay, and then the next question was, did you have any food service in your background before you started your business?
I had no food service background. None whatsoever. I was a math teacher. I grew up in a family that cooked all the time, and so I learned from the best. So when I started cooking, it was really just things that I had learned to do growing up. And then I, of course, expanded that repertoire of things by research and learning and just trial and error. Um, so that answer is no. But if you ask me now, I kind of have developed all of those skills over the years from the people who have come in and out of the business. I do a lot of the cooking still alongside my chef. And I still kind of feel that executive chef role in terms of finding new ideas, costing, and doing all of those things. What was that next question, Jason?
It is, what do you enjoy doing outside of the restaurant to create balance between work and family life?
And you're laughing as you ask that question, Jason. Jason's wife works for me, and she's amazing, but he can tell you that I work all the time. That's a very difficult thing as a business owner. Um, I feel like I need to be available all the time. And when I'm at home trying to relax, that's very, very difficult for me. So the things that I do enjoy really are visiting my grandchild, who is in Mississippi. So I travel back and forth probably once every other month to see her. I enjoy reading, and I enjoy being with friends. I think going out and just being with friends and trying to turn my brain off, even if we're talking about business, it's still in a relaxing environment. So that's kind of how I relax. Um, Go ahead.
Oh, I was going to say, the next one is, have you had any funny and or disaster stories with catering?
Oh my gosh, I could write a book. Let's see. Probably the very first year in business. My sister had moved up here to help me run the business in the very beginning. So that first Christmas that we were in business full time, we had 23 events in 2 weeks, and it was just us. So we didn't have very many people helping. So number one, we would be up for 2 days straight, just trying to get it done. I remember sleeping on the floor, rolled up in dirty tablecloths, trying to take a nap while we were at the kitchen cooking. But we had a wedding on December the 17th, um, 2005. And when we got there, it was for 32 people, but it was at a home on the ocean front, on the ocean side. And they had like Christopher Cross as their entertainment on Thursday night. And that was when the reception was, even though they were getting married on Sunday morning. It was very odd. But anyway, it was high end. So it was this plated brunch. And we got there and we're getting everything set up. And we looked at the menu, and there she had potatoes listed on her menu on her that she had on each place setting. And I looked at Kelly and I was like, potatoes? And she's like, what potatoes? So we had an accident, and one of the pages or one of the versions of the contract had not made it to our wall for production. So here we were, and the cocktail hour was happening, and they were all around us because it was an open floor plan. So one of our friends who was doing the flowers that day, he's like, what do you need? And I said, I need you to go to the store and I need you to get some hash browns. So he went to the store, got hash browns, and literally we were trying to remain calm, but we were throwing hash browns in the skillet. We had them in the microwave, in the skillet, in the oven, under the broiler, and we had this little system going. And we were so panicked, but we made it right at the very last. We had enough to start plating, and by the time we got to when we needed them again, they were ready. So that was one disaster, but there were many, many, many more. We continue to learn even 16 years later.
So, can you explain the importance of math in your daily business?
Oh my gosh. I tell people this all the time. So people say you never use algebra. Okay. That is so far from the truth. You just don't look at it as X's and Y's. Okay. So I use math in cooking where I have to batch recipes. I use math when I'm trying to figure out profit and loss. When I'm doing costing, I have to do conversions because when you're costing a recipe, you have to convert everything to ounces so that you're working on the same scale. And then, so all of my recipes have to go into this template and have to be transposed. And then all of the ingredients have to go in. And then we get a cost for the batch. Then we have to figure out how they're going to be packaged, how much weight is going to be in each package, and what the price needs to be so that we can make the money that we're supposed to make. And that's just kind of the tip of the iceberg. So I could go on and on about that question, but know that math is probably one of the most important things that you will ever need to understand, because you will use it from budgeting at home, budgeting in a business, trying to figure out how much money you need to buy groceries, trying to figure out the sale price of an item with percentages, like goes on and on.
So how has your marketing of your business changed throughout the years, even with the pre-pandemic?
That's an interesting question. For the first few years in business, we really did no marketing except we were in the Hampton Roads Wedding Guide. So my friends call me the wedding queen because they say 49% of our business is weddings, or was weddings. Now it's not so much, but through the years, social media changed everything. So now what I'm doing is I do Instagram and Facebook, and it's important that that's done every day, and that's a very difficult job to maintain when you're doing other things too. I do radio, I do trade with one of the local radio stations, and I still do the Hampton Roads Wedding Guide, and we do bridal shows. So there are 2 or 3 bridal shows in the area that we spend a lot of resources on creating a fabulous marketing experience for brides. So, but that's pretty much it. I don't do any newspaper or any of that.
All right, cool. And then, and also, if you guys haven't checked out their Facebook page, it's pretty cool too. They have a lot of cool stuff up there talking about the business and their special stuff. So, anybody else have any questions? Oh, Miss Simonelli's on your Facebook page right now.
Yeah.
Awesome. All right, cool.
Is she a marketing teacher?
She's our dual enrollment English.
Oh, okay.
But we do have Miss Hitchings. She's in our family consumer science.
Okay.
Miss Shana is in family consumer science. Miss Wood, she works with she also works with students with work experience. And Miss Faustino, she's a marketing teacher.
Awesome.
So yes, so you have lots of very interested people here today with you.
Awesome.
Okay, so usually these go about 30 minutes, and we're at that 30-minute mark. Is there any final questions for Miss Jodi? All right.
I wanna say one more thing to the kids. Okay.
Okay.
Follow your dreams with passion. You can do anything that you want to do. All you have to do is you have to set your mind to it, and you have to take action. If you don't take action, nothing will ever change. You won't accomplish anything. Follow up every idea with action.
That is so true. Awesome. All right. So again, thank you everybody, and Jodi, thank you for being here today with us and the kids, and we're gonna get you some Landtown swag too, so you can represent.
Awesome.
So.
Awesome. Thank you for having me.
Yeah. All right. Well, thank you guys, and we hope you have a great day.
Have a great day. Thank you.